In this video, I want to go over the 10 rules you must follow if you want to be successful on keto, especially if you're a beginner or if you're thinking about doing keto for the first time. Now, Eli followed these 10 rules and went from here to here. So this was a transformation of 3 months, and in 3 months he was able to lose 40 pounds by following these simple rules. So if you want to be successful like Eli, if you want to see the same or similar results just like he did, then make sure you watch the video all the way until the end, and I do have a special bonus at the very end of the video as well. So rule number 1 is you gotta have conviction. So if you're thinking about doing keto or you're just starting keto, you have to go in there with the belief that it's gonna work for you, and you have to go in there knowing that it's going to work for you. Don't just start keto with the attitude of you hope that it's gonna work for you. So number 1 rule is you have to go in there with the belief, with the conviction that keto is gonna give you the results that you want and the results that you desire. So rule number 2 is don't overwhelm yourself. Especially at the very beginning. So a lot of people, when they start doing keto at the very beginning, they have a list of all these things they want to do. You know, they want to, wake up at 5 a.m. They want to exercise 7 days a week. They want to get into ketosis. They want to meditate for 4 hours a day. They want to do all these things. So the very first thing that you got to do is make sure that you just focus on getting in ketosis first. So focus on getting into keto, and then everything else can come, everything else can come after it. Then you can plan your exercise. Then you can plan, whatever other routines you want to do. So first, don't overwhelm yourself. Just simply focus on getting into ketosis and make sure that you're doing keto right for at least the very first 2 weeks. Rule number 3 is make a list of foods. So this one kind of goes hand in hand with the previous point, and that you have to be prepared into getting into ketosis. So a lot of people, when they first start doing keto, they just go into the grocery store, they hear about keto, and they don't really know, they don't know what they're gonna go in there. They don't have a plan. So make sure that you have a plan, make sure that you're prepared, make sure you have a list of foods that you're gonna go and buy. Now, about 4 months ago, I did a video that goes over, pretty much every single food that you need when it comes to keto, how to, personalize your grocery shopping. So I'm gonna leave that video in the link in the description below. I'm also gonna put it right here so that you can go check it out. So it's about an hour long, but it's definitely a good guide, so that way you know what foods you need. That way you can plan it out and personalize it so that you can be prepared and you can make that list of foods that you need, as opposed to just going to the grocery store and just buying a bunch of bacon and butter, and then you're missing out on all kinds of things or other things that you could have also bought. Alright, so rule number 4, and we're starting to get a little more detailed into the actual diet, is make sure to focus on your fat intake first. So keto, as we know, or if you don't know, is 75% fat, 20% protein, 5% carbs, okay? Now there's a very simple question that I have my clients ask themselves whenever they're doing keto and they're about to eat something. And that simple question is, when you have the plate in front of you, where are the fats in here, okay? So you have to focus on where are the fats in this meal. Because if you can't answer that question, if it's not the fatty meat, if it's not the fatty ribeye, if it's not the avocado, if it's not the almonds, if it's not the oil they use to cook it, if it's not the egg yolks, then chances are you're just probably doing a high protein diet. So make sure that you're focusing on your fats. And then once you get into that habit of knowing, okay, all the fats are in the meal, all the fats are in my grocery list, all the fats are in the meal that I'm cooking, then you can start focusing on lowering your carbs. Now, I know the purpose of keto is to make sure that you lower your carbs so much, get your fats up in order to get into ketosis. But if you're a beginner, start out here. Start out with asking yourself, where are the fats? And then you can start focusing on everything else. Rule number 5, and this one has to do with the keto flu, is make sure that you are drinking plenty of water and that you're replenishing with minerals that you're going to be losing during the first 2 weeks of keto. So when somebody first starts doing keto, or when you first start doing keto, you're going to go through what's known as a keto flu. Now the symptoms may hit you hard, they may not hit you at all, or they might be just in the middle. But you have to be prepared for it, because this is where a lot of people quit, because they get lethargy, they get headaches, they feel, just very low energy, and they think it's keto. And yes, it is keto, but it's just a simple, or it's just a small side effect that you're getting because you're switching your body's main energy source. Now, there is a way that you can prevent it or mitigate those side effects, and that is just make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. Make sure that you have some type of electrolyte complex. If you can get some, like sugar-free Propel would be good. But personally, I would just recommend that you get yourself some potassium, magnesium, some vitamin D pills, and even some zinc as well. The salt, the sodium, that's going to come through your diet. So make sure that you have those things handy. Or like I said, you can just get yourself a electrolyte complex to make sure that you're replenishing it. And on top of that, make sure that you're drinking at least a gallon of water a day. Rule number 6 is you have to be prepared for social occasions, okay? And this one, it's very funny because when people are doing keto, I see this a lot with my clients, and even myself when I do keto, once a year, there's a special occasion coming up, and what'll happen is there's a special occasion coming up. There's a family event, there's a gathering, a barbecue, whatever you want to call it, or whatever it is, and you just kind of sweep it under the rug. You just kind of ignore it, you put it in the back of your head, and you think, well, I'll deal with it once we get there. And that's the wrong attitude to have. If you're doing keto, you have to be prepared for social occasions. And just the fact that that there's going to be temptations, there's going to be carbs, you've already won 50% of the battle. Just simply be aware that there's going to be temptations. Now, my number one tip when it comes to whether you're going to a buffet with a family or it's a barbecue is, if you're doing keto, make sure that you always have proteins first. So focus on the chicken, on the steak, on all the meats and the vegetables. Eat as much of that as you want, because that's going to help you stay full, and chances are it's not gonna make you deviate. Now, if you happen to have something you're not supposed to, and it does happen, that's normal. Let's say you have a piece of cheesecake and you broke keto, don't beat yourself up. That's okay. The best thing that you can do, or the fastest way to get back into ketosis, is to do fasting the next day. So simply, if you're not already doing intermittent fasting, my recommendation is to fast until late afternoon the next day, and that's going to put you straight into ketosis, fairly fast, especially since you've already been doing keto and you just had a small cheat. So that's going to help you get rid of the carbs. But more importantly, just make sure that you are prepared for social occasions. So rule number 7, kind of going off from the last one, is be forgiving with yourself. And this is very important. If you happen to have a cheat meal, if you happen to break keto, if you happen to have a little bit of extra junk food, if you indulge a little bit, if you're stress eating, that is okay. Be forgiving with yourself. Allow yourself to have that cheat meal and simply get back on track. The biggest mistake that you can make here is just to simply dwell on it and think that you've undone all of your hard work. Chances are, yes, you've undone a little bit of your work, but you haven't undone all of it. If you keep on dwelling on it, if you keep snowballing, then it's going to get worse. So just be forgiving with yourself. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. We're human. So when that happens, just, okay, you had a cheat meal, you had, a little bit of carbs, you broke keto, just move on from it and don't step on the scale for a couple of days, because yes, you're going to retain a little bit of water, maybe not fat, but you will retain a little bit of water weight. So don't step on the scale. Just be forgiving with yourself. Know that it's normal to make mistakes, and simply move on, to your next step. Rule number 8 is only use keto junk food when necessary. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see is when somebody first starts doing keto, they see all these things in the grocery store, all these things being advertised as keto friendly, keto this, keto that, and that's great because they can help you, avoid certain cravings or take care of certain cravings. The problem is when we get into this habit of doing the keto bars, the keto ice cream, the keto popsicles, everything keto, and you want to stick to whole foods. Essentially is what you want to do. You want to keep your diet as close to what you're cooking fresh, from your kitchen. Now, I'm not saying don't do it. That's why I said use it only when necessary. So, kind of going off from the last 2 points, let's say that you went to a family event and you were able to have the willpower to say no to the cheesecake. First of all, good job, congratulations, that's awesome. Then that's when you can go home, go to Google, look up a keto cheesecake recipe, and then treat yourself. So that's when you want to use the keto junk food. When you have a certain craving, when you're able to, or when you are able to say no to something else, and don't be using it as a crutch or for every single meal, meaning that you're having a keto bar or a keto this, keto that. something that's been processed, and you're having it 3 times a day or 4 times a day as part of your as a replacement for your meals. Rule number 9 is going to be slow reintroduction of carbs when you get off keto. So keto is a great tool, and a lot of people make it their lifestyle, and that's totally great. But if you're just looking to, let's say that you're trying to reverse your pre-diabetes or your type 2 diabetes, if you're insulin resistant, if you put on weight very quickly, if you have some health markers that you want to take care of, and keto is the best way to do it, keto is going to do it for you. But we both know that it's impossible to never ever have carbs again. So if you're doing keto, let's say seasonally, or you're doing it 8 months out of the year, when it's time to get off keto, you have to reintroduce carbs very slowly. And what I mean by that is you have to have a 5 days period, a 5-day period where essentially you're slowly introducing carbohydrates. So don't, end keto and then immediately have a list of restaurants you want to go to, because what's going to happen is you're going to put on weight very quickly. You're going to put on fat very quickly, because you're going to be also insulin sensitive, and you're going to be storing fat fairly quickly. So what you want to do is you want to go through a 5-day period where each day you're adding 25 grams of carbs until you reach about 150, 175. So the first day, for example, you want to do 25 grams of carb, and then you minus one of your fat sources. Don't just pile up food on top of food. So let's say that for breakfast you're doing an omelet with avocado. Take away the avocado and then add 25 grams of potato, 25 grams worth of potato. The next day you add another 25, and one of your meals you take away one of the fat sources, and so on. My recommendation is to stick to tubers or fruits. You don't want to be doing like heavy carbs. So tubers, I mean like sweet potatoes, red potatoes, and then for fruit, try to stick to berries. And then once you've hit that particular goal, once you get to the 150, then you can add your carb intake a little bit more, but don't go too crazy on it, because you're still going to be a little bit insulin sensitive. So still try to keep your carb intake under 150 grams or 200. But if you're going to do it, make sure that you do it slow when you reintroduce them. Rule number 10 is going to be dedicated to all the parents out there. And one of the biggest struggles that I hear with people that are doing keto with clients is, okay, well, I'm doing keto, but what about the rest of my family? What about my kids? And this rule is very simple. Focus on when you're going to make dinner, when you're going to make breakfast, focus on doing your keto foods first, and then add the carbs for your family. So what I'm saying is your family doesn't have to do keto with you. Your family doesn't have to eat the same things that you're doing. And a lot of people just kind of like close themselves into like a little box, like, okay, well, if I'm cooking keto, then I have to do keto for my whole family. That's not the case. What you want to do is first focus on, okay, what am I doing for keto for myself, and then add the carbs for your family. So to give you a quick example, let's say that you're doing naked burgers. Focus on the naked burgers. Have the burgers, have the patties, have the bacon, the cheese, the avocados, the lettuce wrapping, the vegetables, etc. And if your kids are not doing keto, which they shouldn't be doing keto, the kids should be eating all the nutrients while they're developing, while they're going through puberty. They should be eating carbs, fats, and protein. But that's another topic for another day. So then you get the buns and you get the French fries on the side for them so that they can have them. You see what I mean? Or let's say that you're doing like a taco salad, for the whole, keto-friendly taco salad. You have all your fatty meats, your avocado, your sour cream, which is for you, and then you get tortillas on the side for the family. So this rule essentially is focus, when you're going to cook for your family, first focus on what am I doing with keto, and then focus on adding the carbs for your family. Because most people usually see it backwards and they think, okay, how can I make this meal and then make it keto? It's the opposite. I'm going to make this keto, and then how can I add the carbs? Alright, so I did mention that I had a special bonus at the end of the video, and when I was going to do this video, I asked Mr. Eli, hey man, if you could give me 5 tips that you want to give to the audience that's listening to this, what would you tell them? So now I'm going to give you guys 5 tips coming straight from him to you guys, so that way you guys can apply these, as well as the 10 rules that we just went over, okay? So tip number 1 from Mr. Eli is your mentality. Your mind game plays a big part. You have to want to change and weigh out if you want to stay stuck and not prosper, or if you want to take up the process of being reforged. He was just tired of feeling stuck, tired of seeing the guy in the mirror, and tired of being tired and not being able to get up and do things with his kids. So your mentality, kind of going back to rule number 1, is you got to have that conviction and that belief that you want to do it and that you're going to get it done no matter what. Tip number 2 is discipline. Take every step serious. Check yourself if you miss a step. It's not going to be perfect, but if you let it go too easy, you will fall back into old and bad habits. So essentially this one is going back to point number what was, I think it was like point number 4 or point number 5 or no, point number 7, where I said you have to be forgiving with yourself. So essentially what he's saying is, yes, be forgiving with yourself, but don't be too forgiving, meaning that, you know, if you mess up a little bit, you just kind of let it, you sweep it under the rug. Yes, be forgiving with yourself, but at the same time, okay, know that you mess up and simply move on, but don't be too hard on yourself. Okay. Tip number 3 is know that you're not alone. Watch inspirational videos of other success stories, or see how others train, and ask about the road and what it took for them to get where they're at. And I think this is a wonderful tip because often when we look at people on social media, or when we look at people that we know, we often look at them with eyes of jealousy as opposed to motivation or inspiration. So when you look at others, look up to them and see what it is that they're doing right. Don't do it in a way where you're envious of what they have and what you don't have. So and more importantly, surround yourself with those kinds of people. Surround yourself with the type of people that are going to motivate you, with the type of people that are going to tell you good job, with the people that are going to acknowledge your changes. So I think this is a great tip. And like you said, make sure know that you're not alone. You're not the only person that's going through this with this particular struggle or this particular journey. Tip number 4 is never doubt yourself. Like he said, you're gonna mess up. It's not gonna be perfect, but you have the chance to do your best the next meal / day. And with the workouts, you have the next week to try and make all those days to the gym or do all of your reps. Trust the process. Rome wasn't built in a day. That's a great tip. Essentially, what he's saying is be persistent. Don't give up. The change is not going to happen overnight, but when it does happen, it's going to be very rewarding. And last tip is take pride in every step. Even the first step, you're accepting to take the step for change. And later down the road, you look back and be like, wow, I did that. You'll be doing things you've never done before and making accomplishments you never thought you could make. Give it up for yourself. Sometimes reward yourself. So what he's saying is celebrate the little victories, and part of that celebration is, of course, reward yourself. If you're craving something, at the end of the week, have it. Of course, don't go too crazy on it, but celebrate the little victories. Essentially, just dwell on those little victories, because those little victories, essentially, it's one step at a time until you're able to build the whole staircase and you get to where you want to be. All right, so hopefully you guys found those 10 rules helpful, and you guys found Eli's tips, helpful as well. If you did, make sure to like the video, share it with somebody else that's starting to do keto, or somebody that's doing keto. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner, if you're in the middle, or towards the end. These tips are still going to help you. And if you want to see more, content like this in the future, make sure to subscribe, turn on the notification button, and I will see you guys in the next video.